Hey guys, I was looking at some old comments on one of the older reggae tutorial videos. Someone asked about the Revolution Rhythm. Yeah, it's a very famous bass line. It's kind of, it's got a kind of feel that's kind of it's similar to Slang Take. It's not played on a keyboard, but it's got a kind of slightly artificial feel, like as electronic-y feel from that era. People starting to use a lot of syn drums and things then, and synths. Now it's about that bass line. That is what makes the Revolution Rhythm, because the beat is just a straight buff, baff, buff, baff, right? Okay, so it's all about the bass line. Let's do it quick. Software instrument, bam. Put the drums on here. I'm going to use the producer kit, multi-out kit, the roots kit. Yes, I can have this kit ready to load, all done, but you wouldn't see what I do to it. Open up the stack, go into the mixer. There's all the separate outs. So what I do is I lower the overheads because I don't want too much overhead ambience. I can always put my cymbals up louder to get them to cut through, because the cymbals come up through on the overheads channel. I take the kick outside mic off completely and the underneath the snare mic down completely. The room mics, I just take them all down. It uses this room mic A, but I take them all down. Right, and put the hi-hats up a bit and centre them more. Right, okay. That's my basics. Then I get the actual drum kit, which is on the overhead channel. Kick, gain it up a smidge, dampen it a lot. Snare drum. I'll go for that one, but tune it right up and dampen it a lot. Little bit of gain. Toms, tune them right up, dampen. Hi-hats, modern bright. Cymbals, modern bright, but I dampen them so they're not, if I do use them, they're not going to sustain too much. And I can put the gain up here to compensate for the fact they're on the overheads. They go to the room or the overheads, or both. The room mic's completely turned down, so they're only going to appear on the overheads here. I've turned the overheads right down so I get less ambient overhead mic sound on the kit, so I need to put my cymbals up a little bit to make them a bit loud. I can adjust that later using this is smart controls. Is the cymbal one there, right? Okay. But that's basics, right? So the beat's really simple. The beat is just a straight buff, baff, buff, baff. That's what I call it. Buff, baff, buff, baff. Very simple. Drum names on so we can see the drums. Kick, first beat of the bar. Kick. Right, give it a velocity of about 100. Kick, so it's just one kick, snare, 2, kick, 3, snare 4. That's it. Tempo about 88, 86. My display is set like this. To get it like that, that's what it's normally like. Drop that arrow down and choose custom, and now you can access the grid here, and that's the tempo. So about 88. Okay, then for the hats, well, you can go with 8ths or 16ths, but if you use 8ths, the 16ths in between have got to be really low. So I'll go with a 16th. Hi-hat closed. Brush them in. Select them all. Adjust their velocity about 100. And then shorten them, and I only do that to make them easier to see the gaps in between easier. It doesn't make the hi-hat playback shorter, less long, you know, just right. And then I'll select every other hat, and all those are going to be really lowered down to a velocity of just 1. You can just hear them in between the 8ths, and then every other 8th hat in the middle of each quarter beat, I push up to the pedal, which gives a more splashy hat sound. That gives you a tss, 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 rising. Okay, that's the beat. To tart that up, I'm just going to use the T-Rex plugins because they're very, very fast to work with. I prefer to use them. You can do it with the channel EQ though, but I'm just going to put an EQ on here. I use the simple EQ 73 all the time. It's only got 3 bands, but really low 35Hz boost, scoop out at 360, a lot. Treble at the top. There's my kick. Good solid thud. Right. Some compression on it. I use this Dynamo. Very easy. Yeah. There's my kick. Snare top. Again, you can use the channel EQ. I'm going to use the EQ 73. Really simple. I'm going to give it some real bottom end. Deep bottom end, but scoop out the mids a lot. Very, just the same as the kick really, and treble at the top. A little bit more input. Right, done. And then some compression. Again, I'll use that Dynamo. It's simple. Just wham on whatever. Okay, right. Now there's that all done. On the snare channel now, I'll get the auxiliary send it out to the first available spare bus. That's the first bus in the list here that doesn't have an arrow and a title. Bus 2. Boom, select it. This auxiliary send on the snare is sending out on bus 2. Here's the auxiliary return receiving on bus 2 that's created automatically. On here I'm going to put a space designer. I'm going to put on a medium. I'll try a plate actually, because it's not a spring on this by the sound of it. That's not big enough. Bigger sound. Large plate. What I could do is I could actually use the T-Rex plate for this. It's a really nice plate. You can use any reverb. Right, but I'm just going to use the I really like this T-Rex plate. Okay, and then I'm going to put it on a classic send gold plate. One of them's stereo, one of them's mono. I forget which is which. Where are we? In, out, stereo, mono out. That's the gold plate 1. Right. And longer reverb time. Now this has got a filter in it, but I'm just going to quickly slap an EQ with the low shelf, cutting all the bottom end out. So only the top end of the snare gets to this reverb, right? So when I put a big reverb on, I don't get the bottom end going. I get just a big splash like that. Right? Very fizzy splash. Right, which is similar to the reverb on that. That's what they're doing on that. They're EQing the snare, going to the reverb to get rid of the bottom end, right? Okay. Hi-hats, I'll just use the channel EQ for that. Shelf off the bottom. Give it some fizz at the top. Bish bash bosh. That's it. Okay, so it's all about the bass line. It's all about the bass. The bass. Bass. I'm going to use the muted bass for this actually, and it's just the bass, and it's F in this original one. Right, F. like that. Boom, da da. And then again on the third beat, boom, boom, boom. But they need to be closer together. A little shorter 16ths. Da da da. Like that. Da da da. Oh, come on. Right, that's the first bit. Now some people put another note there. Like that. Right, so sometimes you can have that note in, but anyway, that's the first bit. So boom, ba-dum, da-da-da-da-dum. Right, and the length of that note needs to be quite long to come in, but not too long. It doesn't spill into that. Right, there's a gap. With reggae bass lines, it's about the gap. Boom, up, da-da. That has to drop just around 2/16 in length to leave that 16th gap before this bit. Dum, da-dum. Right, copy the whole thing over. And the second bit is just goes up or down. Boom, right? Very sharp. And that's it. That is it. That's it. That's all it is. That's what makes that track. Now some people, they do a climb up here instead of da-da-da on the second cycle. They'll do a like that. Yeah, and they may drop back to that note. Yeah, or that. But it's about that climb. Sometimes you get that climb in it, other times these notes are just playing da 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 like that. Right? Yeah, so you can have that note in as well if you want. You can have that climb up if you want, whatever. Just variation, because there's loads of different versions of this track. But it's all about that bass line. And it's actually quite hard to play on a real bass, to stretch up from that dum dum dum, that little minor and bring it back. Try playing this on a real bass, it's quite difficult. And that's it, and then you just put your chap guitars in. Instrument, guitar, your classic clean, which is the only one that really works for doing guitar chaps. Bam, in it goes. It's in F. Now I'm doing first beat, second beat, third beat, fourth. Buff, baff, buff, baff. So my chaps are on the upbeat in between. Boom, chap, 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 like that, right? So bum. Minor chord. Copy it to the middle of the next quarter beat, and the middle of the next quarter beat, and the middle of the next quarter beat. And then just shorten it to taste. Right, copy it over and you just change the key. But when you push it up like that, it's still the right chord because it's a minor. But this top note's a bit high. So you can get that top note and bring it down an octave. You'll still have exactly the same 3 notes in the minor chord, but this will be an octave lower. Oop, get on that. Yeah, you know, you can try that kind of thing. And then there's the track for the guitar selected. Here's its channel. Now when you create that guitar track, that guitar classic clean, there's its channel. It has an auxiliary send on it. It puts its own reverb into the mix on this auxiliary return. So I select it, backspace, delete, and then reassign its send to the spring reverb. That one. And let's name this reverb, which I should have done to start with. Then when I'll go to assign this send to the different bus, I see, look, reverb. Okay, so I can put a bit of reverb on the guitar. And that's it. That's it. Now, if you play this live with a band, this beat it came out around the time when everyone started doing that 3-time break, which comes from an engineer doing a push on the master fader or a group bus where they go voo, 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 and fade the music up, back down, up and back down, up and back down, like whoom, whoom, whoom. And then bands started doing that themselves. So the classic break to go into, coming out of that, 8 bars of that, would be, take the very first bar of it, the F, would be to do the 3-time break stab thing, right? And that's just really simple. Okay, it's just kick, whoop, kick, snare and hat. Right, and I'll use the pedal closed hat for that. Right, a little stab like that on 3: kick, snare, pedal, hat, all 3. And then we got the grid in 16th, so we just count these as 3s. 1, 2, 3, then the next one. So 1 16th, 2, 3 16ths, then again 1, 2 16ths, 3 16ths, and then a 1 on the final last 2 16ths in the first half of the bar. So 16ths, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 makes 8, and then we just double it over. That's your classic. And then your bass just does the stabs with you. Right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Like that, and then the guitar's the same. Just slap them on doing the 1. Oh, come on. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, and that on the last pair of 16ths there. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 makes 8, and then copy that over. Yeah, and then you just copy all that, and in the next bit just change the bass and the guitar, change the key. That bass is wrong. No, it's right. Is that right? No, it is A sharp. Have I got that right? I've got to check this. So, yeah, let's do it an octave up. If in doubt, get your whole bass line, shove it up an octave. F for this note. Let's hear it, an octave up, just to check the pitch. Come on, you over here. No, it's flat, isn't it? Sharp, I mean. Should be A. This sample is strange though. Is it the velocity making it? No, it sounds flat. That sounds flat. That sounds sharp. Oh damn. That's definitely sharp, but that sounds flat. I don't believe this. Right, let's change the bass then. Why is it out of bloody tune? Let's try the Liverpool bass. No, that is flat. Should be A sharp. Thank you. Right, okay, so always check that, because as you can see, I'm getting some serious problems with that. So let me take these bass lines out because they're wrong. Put these in. It's really, when you're doing these bass lines with a very deep bass, it's often really hard to hear. And that guitar just has the wrong pitch. So now we get all those regions, because I copied them over, but they're up an octave. That's all of them, right? Command A, select the whole lot and whack them back down an octave. Right, now let's do some work on the bass. Bass selected here, track. Here's its channel. Open up the bass amp. Let's switch that to the big stack. It's my favourite. Ampeg rig all the way to amp. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Right, now let's go back to the break. Now we've got the pitch right. So yeah, the break is like that. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. And then now that's flat. A sharp. So that would be your classic break. To use that 3-time stab thing, it just works with that bass line so perfectly. And I've played this a few times with musicians, and it just, that 3-time stab is in exactly the same era that this beat came out, this bass line came out. They go together really well. comes. Right, okay, but the Barrington Levy version of it doesn't use that timing for the stab. It uses a different timing, like this. Let's just have that. Yeah, the Barrington Levy one, if we put our grid to 12ths and to get, you know, did I show you how to get this display? Usually it's like that. Drop the list down, or drop this thing down here, choose custom, there's your grid. Change it to 12ths. So what we've got with the Barrington Levy one is that comes across. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, but at 12ths. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we switch back to 16ths. And the last 3 stabs are a 16th apart in the second half of the bar, like that. That's it. And then you just change everything else to do that. So 12ths. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 16ths. These are a 16th apart, like that. And then the guitar, same thing. 12ths. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's that done. Then back to 16ths, and then the second half of the bar. These are a 16th apart. Like that, and you get that. Right, and then for the second bit, let's copy the whole thing over. For the second bit, it's the bass and the guitar we change. So the bass goes A sharp, and the guitar up to A sharp, like that. And that's the Barrington Levy break. Like this. Is that the right note? Yeah, it is. Why has that disappeared? Why? Still selected there. Thank you. Yeah, that's the break used in the Barrington Levy thing.
Other than Broadway, yes, I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. When you go to Volcano, it's like a stage show. You have man that sing, DJ and
right, but there's a guitar and a synth doing little things in the background there, in you know, and all this kind of thing. Obviously, the lyric. La 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 la. That, you know, fills the whole thing up, so it doesn't sound so empty. But the stab,
pull it down the swing.
And there's that Simmons going boom, boof, doo, boof, boof, doo, like that. Yeah, and obviously the Barrington Levy one is slightly lower in key. It's a tone and a half down, or 2 tones down, or something. A slightly slow tempo, but yeah, that's just the stab thing, right? The bottom line is that actually I won't delete that. I'll move that out of the way. But the bottom line is I'll use my stabs, my traditional 3-time stab, which really works for that. But the bottom line is it's about that bass line. It's just about that bass line, right? That's what makes it a Revolution Riddim, right? Okay, so there you go. I hope that's useful.